Are you sending everything out?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the link first.
Okay.
And that's all set up. There we go.
Okay.
Tweet is sent.
Okay. Okay, we'll just give it a couple minutes.
Yep.
So, hello to everyone watching on Facebook Live. We will be getting started right in about 1 minute. 10 o'clock Pacific, or wait, 9 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Mountain. I always get my times confused.
Times in hockey scores. It's okay, Kev.
Yes. Yes, it's true. Very true. All right, let's do this. We are live. I forgot to say that first, but that's okay. Good morning, everyone, on Facebook.com, the Hockey Podcast. If you're listening later, good. Hello, wherever you are. Welcome to the Hockey Podcast. You can, of course, like us on Facebook.com, the Hockey Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey. You can also as I said, like and subscribe on where you get your podcasts: Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And we're live recapping the not the Canucks 3-2 victory, Sean Holmes Smith, as someone mistakenly typed in last night in the promotion, but the Canucks 5-2 victory over the St. Louis Blues, which was the actual final score.
Yeah, it was a great way to start off the actual playoffs and get a win right off the bat and put the defending champs on their heels a little bit.
Yes, and we will talk about that. We've got a poll question if you want to participate in that on the Facebook feed. It is the poll question we came up with is, where is your belief now after last night's win with the Vancouver Canucks? Is it more? Is it less? Or is it the same? We'll chat about that as we go through this, and we'll kind of delve into the game. If you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, post them in the comment board. We will give you a shout out and answer them. But I guess, how are you feeling? Where are you at? Kind of give us the floor. I'm kind of reflecting the last game one that we had in the previous one. You went on a epic little rant about the officiating. I'm not sensing any rant feelings from you at this. You're not giving a rant vibe out, I got to tell you.
Well, it's a lot easier not to get a little ranty when you win the game as opposed to lose it versus when they did versus the Wild. Officiating was still very suspect last night. They called a penalty that's not a penalty unless you're playing non-hitting hockey.
That's true.
This isn't Adam hockey anymore. Come on. But the Canucks played. They played all right. They capitalized on the chances. They were able to figure out a way to get in the grill of Jordan Bennington and get in his head a little bit. And I think that's going to be a very big key for them going forwards for the rest of the series. The Canucks captain, Bo Horvat, stepped up big time. Not only did he get the opening goal on the power play, but he scored an absolute beauty to put the Canucks up 4-2 and really solidify where this game was going after this Troy Stecher goal. And just he looked like a man on a mission. He looked like he was in full-on beast mode at times out there, controlling the play, just physically overpowering players down low in the offensive zone and just finding a way to will himself to the net, and then still showing some really good skill close in there. He had a couple other opportunities that could have gone in as well, and by far he was the best Canucks player on the ice last night. He
was the best player on the ice. Period. He was on it. The emotion, he got it started, and we'll get into the other emotional point, but this was sort of an emotional game for the Canucks, and it started around 7:15 my time. Elliot Friedman tweeted out JT Miller not in the lineup. Then it got followed up by a couple of other people, and then the Canucks sent out their lineup, and JT Miller was in that lineup. It was a little confusing for everyone.
Just a little bit. It sounds like a lot of the reporters there, or that normally report on the lines, didn't quite pay attention enough to the Canucks warm-up, because JT Miller wasn't out there at all, and Adam Gaudette was taking the line rushes with the Pedersen line. So there's definitely something there. I don't know what it is. He was taking face-offs, so I do think that if that's not a hand or wrist issue, which I think a few people thought because of the block shot he had early on in the Wild series. But he battled through, got a goal and an assist, and showed the warrior that he is. And that is fantastic to see. Hopefully it was more of maybe he just tweaked something before the game, and he'll be good to go and back to as close to full health as possible for game 2 tomorrow. But the fact that he was able to go and was able to contribute was huge for the Canucks.
What is the weirdest injury you have ever had?
I've ever had?
Yeah.
I've headbutted my dresser when I was sleeping and pulled a muscle in my back shoulder area. That's pretty weird.
Well, yeah, the reason I was asking is because it sounds like one of the thinkings out there is Miller got hurt during the whatever you call the soccer warm-up, however you want to call that. Some people have different words for it, so I'll just use the word soccer warm-up. And there's some people saying that he may have got hurt during that, and I heard Ed Jovanovski talking last night that he broke his toe during a soccer warm-up and he couldn't say anything to anybody because he was too embarrassed. But that's just, I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but that's what some people are saying.
It wouldn't surprise me, as Kevin Bieksa was talking about it as well, saying the amount of injuries that have come from that pregame is quite staggering if you could actually go back and be able to count them. But a lot of them go undiagnosed or just unreported because, again, the players are a little bit embarrassed for getting hurt in a soccer warm-up before a game, especially if it's a playoff game.
Yeah. But it was good to see him. It was a sigh of relief to see him in the lineup and going to be key going forward for sure. Really, I want to get to the goaltending because before we get into the real heart, I'm going to say the heart for a little bit more into this. We will get to the onion stuff in a moment, but we'll start with Markstrom because we kind of all felt that Markstrom fought it the last series. He was absolutely on his game last night, especially when he had to be. I know it was 4-2 when he made that pad save very late in the third, but it was just he was dialed in. He was the Markstrom, and dare I say, this might be. And we're talking about a guy that won the Stanley Cup last year. Felt he should have won. Some people felt he should have won the Calder, especially him. This looks like the biggest mismatch in this series right now. Last night, the biggest difference for sure last night was goaltending.
Yeah, Bennington didn't have a good game. Markstrom was on. He was closer to what he looked like in Game 3 versus the Wild. Don't forget, he was fantastic in Game 3 versus the Wild. Looked dialed in and looked like he was back to what he was for the majority of this past season. He was closer to that than he was to Games 1 and 4, where he struggled with some bad seeing clear-sighted shots. The two goals Markstrom allowed last night was one was a breakaway, hard to do anything on that, and the other one was just a really good play on the power play from the St. Louis Blues. Canucks scored a very similar one to open the scoring as well. So I do think that Markstrom was on, and Bennington definitely struggled at times. The Stecher goal shouldn't go in. You could even make an argument that the Horvat's second goal was a little bit of a weak one, but they got in his grill. They have Antoine Roussel, who's just going to drive Blues fans nuts and Blues players nuts, and he's going to be enemy number one throughout this series, which is fantastic for us Canucks fans to have a bit of an asshole on our team as opposed to dealing with one a lot of the time, even though St. Louis has one in David Perron. And we got to see some rat-on-rat violence.
Yes.
A wrestling match at some point last night, which was hilarious. But that is. I wouldn't say it's a mismatch, Kev. I would say it's more of just a key matchup. And as of last night, Markstrom was the better goalie, and I do think that you can definitely, if you could put money on it, say that whoever gets the best goaltending in this series is going to win, and it could really break the back of the team who doesn't get it.
Yeah, I guess to me, for me, I've had this, and it's just about perception and reality here, but the perception I've had about Jordan Bennington has been he's still been strong. I mean, obviously, the St. Louis Blues got to the top 4, so obviously they're a good team. They were the number 1 seed heading before the pause, so they're still a Stanley Cup champion, so I still have that high regard for them. But Bennington sort of last night reminded me of what we've seen from Matt Murray, a guy that won the Stanley Cup, and like at a young age, and can't find his game right now.
Well, I wouldn't put it quite there. They're very similar in their attitudes. They're both very cocky when they're at the top of their game. Very cocky goaltenders who can just they come across as like absolute dicks because they just think that they're better than anyone else. And sometimes some people need that when they're to play with that chip on their shoulder. And there was a little bit of talk last night that maybe there isn't Bennington doesn't have that chip right now, and he can get it. He's the type of guy I think can get listen to the media and then get that chip back on his shoulder. But at this point, like I said, he got outplayed by Markstrom last night, and it wasn't close. But that's only one game out of the best of 7 series, and I totally expect Bennington to be a difference maker in at least one game here.
Yeah, and that's the thing I have to that's for me just a couple of reminders. I mean, yeah, it's one game, but the signs on the Blues weren't showing well within the round robin. They allowed 2 late goals that cost them 2 games that got them into the 4th seed, actually. The goal against Colorado, the goal against Dallas. So that they're not coming in the best game. And I didn't really, for me, it really just felt generally that the Canucks were in control even when the Blues tied it twice.
Yes and no. The Blues controlled the majority of the shot attempts for most of the game. But the thing is, the Canucks were good at keeping them to the outside. I'll reference the heat maps on Natural Stat Trick again. The Canucks were able to keep a significant amount of shots to the outside. There's still there's still too much in the way of some heat in the middle of the ice, but that's to be expected when you're playing such a strong team. But yeah, I think that's what the Canucks did in terms of controlling the play, is that they controlled where the St. Louis Blues were playing the game more than I think we expected them to be able to do.
I was trying to get the screen share up on that, and I am having a bit of a... Hang on. It's a bit... but the heat map... Canucks attempts 3.67, Blues attempts 3.67. But I will put the heat. What I'll do is I'm going to put the heat map in the comments. I can do that. So as you're talking there, but there we go. Live Facebook and everybody. I mean it's. It certainly wasn't even the big difference here being special teams, and I thought, where was I going here? Give me a moment here while you're. Yeah, I think the Blues gave it was a fight. The Canucks played very well defensively. Tyler Myers took 1 penalty, and I think Canucks Twitter freaked out. But I think overall. I thought the Canucks defense played very well. And
they did. That penalty on Tyler Myers was soft. They did make it. They did have a pretty soft makeup call on Tyler Bozak afterwards. But I do think that only 1 penalty from Tyler Myers is a good thing. And I think he played. Yeah, I think he played quite well last night, as well as Stecher played really well. And again, Quinn Hughes showed off how good of a hockey player he is yet again. He was the focus of a lot of the St. Louis Blues attention, and he was able to fight through it and create offense, create chances, and just keep control of the puck a lot more than I think. I didn't know what to expect, because I expected the Blues to be as hard on Quinn Hughes as possible, and they were. And he fought through it and looked still looked again just like as good as he did versus the Wild, if not better.
Yeah, I thought he was probably the best defenseman out there, for sure. Okay, let's get to, so it's tied at 2 going into the third period, and Troy from Richmond, Troy Stecher, a guy who we've talked about as a guy that's probably a bit on the has been on the odd man out situation. We wonder what's going to happen last year, but this is, I think, where I think Canuck fans, I'm hearing, are really. There's two things that come away with this. Let's hear from Bo Horvat. I have the clip from Bo Horvat last night. What he had to say about Troy Stecher.
Couldn't be happier for Troy to get that one. I can speak for everybody. Good talk.
So yeah, he's breaking. He's kind of. If you watch the clip, it's on Twitter. He's got an emotional thing. You hear Jacob Markstrom talk about the love in the room, and there's certainly, I think, losing your father in a very dramatic way over the summer, and it's a very devastating thing. But really big goal, a really big moment last night for Troy Stecher.
Yeah, Troy Stecher is one of my favorites, just because he's an undersized defenseman, but works and battles, and the fight in the dog is bigger than the dog with Troy Stecher, and he's one of those heart and soul type of players. I hope they can find a way to keep him, as well as Chris Tanev, because I like both of them on this team. I think they can find a way to improve the blue line on the left side. But in terms of seeing him score and then being able to point up to the heavens and say, "This one's for you, Dad," was just fantastic. I missed the Selly live, but when I saw it being shared on social media, I teared up for sure. It was special, and he's one of those guys that you can't help but cheer for and root for as a fan.
Yeah, he played 15-40, 1 takeaway, 1 block shot, 2 shots on goal. The Canucks basically went with what the Kevin Bieksa trident of Edler, Hughes, and Tanev, got the high chunk of ice time, but Stecher was really solid, and I think the other side of that, like you mentioned, the tear up, and sort of, I think a lot of Canuck fans are feeling that this team has a big unity, emotional connection this time. It's been closer than it's been in a long time. Are you there? Like, are you?
I definitely think there's something there. I don't know what exactly it is. I do feel like this team is, like, the young guys have definitely bonded and grouped together, and then one of the biggest reasons why I will say that they need to bring Chris Tanev back is he's such a great link between the older players and the young core. And but yeah, there's definitely something there in terms of the unity and what how the team feels when you look at them hanging out together or in the locker room afterwards. It just, yeah, there definitely seems like there's something there. I don't know what it is, or if it is like a significant like unity boost or whatever it is, but there's definitely something there.
Yeah, I mean, and then you had the Brock Besser emotional moment, so certainly there feels to be an emotion. I think, we talked about this last year with the Flames and Colorado, and one of the words that was thrown around that there was a lack of this. I think the Canucks have that maturity already, that they're able to deal with adversity. They seem to know how to win these tough games. They've got that figured out in some ways. They've got that maturity certainly to go forward.
I think they're still learning. I think there's still a long ways to go, but they've got a good. If you take the salary cap out, I feel like you have to caveat this conversation that I'm about to have with that. If you take the salary cap out, I think they've got the right mix of youth and vets in key positions that can help mentor and guide the younger players when they do struggle. Because I do think that Brandon Sutter, as maligned as he was in the Canucks fan base, he's really stepped up and has completely changed the mind of a lot of people. A healthy Brandon Sutter is still a very good player and very valuable player for the Canucks. You've got JT Miller and Tanner Pearson in the top six. Pearson has a cup ring, as well as JT Miller has played in a few different playoff runs. And then on the blue line, you got Alex Edler, Chris Tanev, and Tyler Myers, who can help steady the ship when needed, especially the first two there, Edler and Tanev. So I do think that the fact that they've got the right a good mix of youth and veterans really helps keep everything going. The exuberance of the youth, the not knowing how big a moment this could be is definitely part of it. And then, but you still have the vets to calm them down when needed. I think it's a really good mix in on the bench, in the locker room, and on the ice. I think it really is. But as I said, you have to take the salary cap implications away, because in today's NHL with the salary cap, although it doesn't really matter right now because we're in playoffs, going long term, they do need to readjust how much they're going to value these vets in who aren't playing in key roles.
I think what I'm saying is they came into this playoff situation with at least the seed of maturity planted and that intangible there, where there have been teams that have come in without it. And I do think that that has been an advantage. And I think that Elliot Friedman has brought this up last year. There's two seasons. There's a regular season and the playoff season, and you almost need two teams. And it's almost like this team that's been it's built for this time of year. Now, I'm not I'm not calling on the Canucks to go on a run or anything like that, but they certainly seem equipped right now to do a lot of the things that you need to do and that we talk about to be in playoff success. I do have some concerns, and we'll get to them in a second, but that's sort of what I'm saying. Is the structure is there.
The structure is there. That's all on Travis Green. Just focusing on teaching everyone on the team the structure and knowing what to do and where they're supposed to be and how to play in whatever situation they're out there in. And that's fully on Travis Green. He's taken a lot of heat over this, but he's been very steadfast at teaching these, especially the young players, how to be true, well-rounded professional hockey players. And I think with everything that's gone on and the type of character of hockey players that the Canucks have brought in, whether it's the young guys through the draft or veterans through trades and free agency, it really feels like there's an emotional maturity there that it can be missing from younger teams as well. And I agree with you on that one there, Kev.
Yeah. Can we talk about concerns and adjustments that we need to see for game 2?
Oh, well, yeah. They need, again, I said this, doing it again. Devin's going to call me out on it again. I've said this before, but they still need to see more from the Pettersson line 5-on-5. They were not good 5-on-5 last night. Were able to produce a couple points on the power play with JT Miller getting a goal and an assist, and Pettersson as well getting a goal on the power play. But if the Canucks are going to survive this series and move on, they need some 5-on-5 production from that line. And until they do, that's my biggest worry. And it's a very tough ask because they're playing against a Selke level center in Ryan O'Reilly, as well as just the Blues are big. They are big, and I think I really hope that Pettersson can learn from today's game and figure out how to play his game instead of focusing on just trying to survive the hits or hit back.
I thought there were times I thought that Pettersson was trying to do too much, and which I think is natural when you're in that situation. But you're right. The Blues are a big, heavy team, and I think 5-on-5, I did feel like if you took the penalties away and you take the goaltending out of this equation, let's just put it over here for a second. I felt that the Blues, for the most part, 5-on-5, controlled the play, and especially late. I mean, obviously the Blues were pressing when they were down 2 goals, but when they can gain the zone and they can get that cycle game going in control, that's where I think the Canucks are going to have a little bit of a problem there. And I do also think, and you're right about Pettersson, and we talked about this with the Flames and Matthew Tkachuk. He was good. You're right. Yeah, I mean, okay, we got some production from Pettersson, and you're right about pacing, and you can make all of those things, but you still need to have that statement in order for the Canucks to win. Because Bo Horvat is not going to be the best player on the ice every game in this series, especially with a guy like Ryan O'Reilly on the other side.
Yeah, and that's where it is. Like they got Bo Horvat stepping up. They had Tanner Pearson stepping up. That line, again, just finding a way to create offense. But they need the top. They need the lot of line to start producing, and hopefully whatever was ailing JT Miller is a quick heal, and then him and Besser can find a way to grind out some down low and create some offense from that, and giving the puck out to Petey with his shot, because he had a couple. The other thing is Pettersson, while they didn't produce off 5-on-5 on the power play when they got set up, they were finding ways to be very dangerous, and they went 2-4-5, I believe, or 3-4-6.
Yeah, 3-for-6, I think it was that number there. Yeah, they were.
And so again, that's 3 goals that they need, but they can't be relying on. So they need to see that line produce 5-on-5 for them for me to feel a lot more comfortable about going forwards in this series. But it was a great win, and finding a way. And if you can have your captain carry you to a win every once in a while in these playoffs, that goes a long way, though. We're seeing. That's the other thing, is we're seeing what Bo Horvat can be in playoff games, and it's fantastic to watch. Yeah,
I tweeted last night he's on a 2-game playoff point streak because he got a point in the last Canucks playoff game. But yeah, he's hard to argue where he has been. He's been strong this entire qualifier, postseason, whatever you want to call it. He's probably been the Canucks top 3 players for sure. But again, it's just, you need everybody going at this time of year, and it's not like we're I don't think we're saying that Pedersen and Miller and Besser were terrible or anything like that, but it's just, especially as this series goes on, and especially as the St. Louis Blues adjust their game, I feel like, just on a side note here, I feel like right now a lot of the things I'm hearing from people, I know that they're 0-4. I know they haven't won yet in a round robin. And I feel like some people are starting to write the obituary of the St. Louis Blues. I'm being cautious about it. This is still a Stanley Cup champion team. They were the number 1 seed coming in, and there's a hell of a lot of talent on this team. They haven't found their legs yet. I will grant that. They need better goaltending, absolutely. We may see Jake Allen in this series. Who knows? But there's a hell of a lot of talent on that team that I'm not necessarily gonna. I'm not writing them off. I sense a long series.
They were missing a couple of key players on there for their bottom 6, and Alex Steen and Ivan Barbashev.
And and him too.
As well as I can't remember who else was out last night, but so their fourth line was completely different than what they normally have. But they still, they're the defending champs for a reason, and they've got that depth. They've got players they're comfortable bringing into those situations and being able to play fourth line roles and not feel out of place. So there's no reason to get overconfident here and be too comfortable. There's still a lot of uncomfortable feelings about this series at this point. 1-0, winning the game 1 is huge. I felt it was a bit. It was more important for the Canucks to win than the Blues, because I think with the Blues, I just felt like if the Canucks won, they can bring in some more. They can just continue to build that momentum and keep St. Louis from building any. And then if St. Louis won, it just was like there would be a bit of a relief going, okay, we can still do this, but they're still a veteran team and they can still find a way in this one. So I think, but I do think that the winning game 1 was just absolutely crucial for the Canucks.
Yeah, I agree. Gives him that foot up, gives everything like that for sure. Anything else we need to talk about during this series?
I'll put this out there right now. I already hate him, but the hate for David Perron by the end of this series is going to be nuclear. He's a pest, and he's a skilled pest. Like he's gonna produce goals and points, and he's going to drive players and fans nuts. And it's the Canucks need to make sure that maybe they can find a way to get him off his game with Antoine Roussel, and see if that can do anything. But he worked over Quinn Hughes at one point last night, and that was just brutal. The ref was watching that and not calling anything. So, but the Canucks need to step up, and as bad as it was, Hughes fought through and was getting it right back, which is fantastic. And I do think that Hughes understands how to play this. I'm losing more. I'm finding more and more reasons that like this kid is going to be special, and this kid is going to be something that we're gonna look back on after his career and just be in awe of what he did. He grew up in the industry. He grew up in the sport with his dad being a skills coach for the Leafs. He knows what it takes, and he's had every. They've done a good job at mentally coaching him to understand what it takes, and the best is yet to come. And it's just, I feel like I'm just gushing about him after every game, but he deserves it. And Quinn Hughes is going to be. We have not seen anyone like him in a Canucks jersey ever.
No, it's fair. I mean, Thomas Drance even tweeted last night that if there's a better defenseman in the Western Conference, he hasn't seen it in this series. In these, so you're not alone in this praise. and especially in a playoff series that has a Pietrangelo, Parenko, Giordano that won the Norris last year, a Heiskanen. You look at the names, especially of the Western Conference defense, that it's high praise. It's hard to argue. He's figured it out. He's got that click. Yeah, it's hard to argue.
And his body is maturing as well. He look. I said this again, doing it again. Sorry, Devin. But he looks bigger than he did at the when the pause happened. He just looks bigger, stronger, and faster. And he hasn't lost his agility, which is the key thing. It's just naturally physically maturing as an adult, and oh boy, like it's so fun to watch him. The way he thinks the game, the way he's able to create space when there is none, and create offense when out of nothing is just amazing to watch. And they need to do everything to make sure that people like Perron or Zach Sanford or Sammy Blais. That was the other guy.
Sammy Blais. That was a huge miss too, I think.
Yeah, because the Blues are big, and if they can find a way to keep Hughes free from having to deal with too much of that, that'll be a big reason why the Canucks will move on if they can do that.
To me, the thing with Perron last night is, I agree with you. He was a pest, but he almost was a benefit for the Canucks in a lot of ways because he was being too pesky without creating any offensive opportunities. So I think he needs to. That's an adjustment I think Perron will need to go forward with. But you're right. He's a guy that's going to be able to. He's going to have a dent on this series.
Yeah, and then Schwartz scoring. It was the first time one of their top line players scored in the bubble. So that's huge. If they can continue, if they can find a way to keep that line quiet, if they do that, it'll be. It's going to be tough for them to do that, but if they do that, they can win this series. And I think Canucks fans have every right to be a little bit feeling good and confident about where the Canucks are standing. But it's a long series. You're playing against the defending champions, and they're going to find a way to win at least one of the next two games, I think, and then it's up to the Canucks to respond at that point.
Yeah, it's like a video game as you go on, right? The levels get higher, and I do expect the Blues will be at a higher level when they play tomorrow than they were yesterday.
Well, Craig Ruby finally decided to suit up, so.
Oh yes, that's true. That's very true.
He was wearing like for the round robin. He was just wearing like a track jacket and some like suit pants, a track jacket, and probably like a polo shirt underneath. And everyone else almost everyone else suited up. He's like, oh, I guess I should suit up for the playoffs.
Well, probably now that it is the playoffs, he'll suit up. Yes, I was reminded of the Captain America suit up. All right, let's leave it there in terms of this game. We've got lots of other stuff going on. We will be recapping game 2 tonight. The Flames and the Dallas Stars. The Flames will be up 1-0. That's going to be a fascinating game. And then there's 2 games tomorrow. The Canucks are in the afternoon. Canucks Blues game 2 is at 2:30 Pacific, 3:30 Mountain, and then the Flames and Stars are going back to back on Friday tomorrow night as well. So this is a game 2, game 3 back to back. So I know that we will be doing a Saturday morning recap because lo and behold, and we've already ranted about this, but lo and behold, on a Saturday during a hockey season that we should have a Canadian team playing hockey on a Saturday, but No, nope, we don't have that. Apparently, we don't need that anymore. So we had a rant about that. You can check that out on the Monday on Monday's Facebook Live on the Lafreniere. We had some things to say about that. So go listen to that. So we will be back tonight. And then we will be back. It's either tonight or tomorrow morning. Quite likely, Matt and I will recap it tonight, and probably Devin may join us. And then Saturday morning, we're back for a Flames Canucks double recap. Is that the way that we're calling this?
Yeah, we're getting we should have the full crew.
Yes.
On Saturday morning to go over both games. So that'll be fun. It's, instead of having these one or two, three, maybe four people, we'll have the full meal deal with everyone. Chris, Tyler, Devin, Heidi, and then us two, Kevin and Sean, on Saturday going over both games and probably getting into some decent arguments.
Yes. We also got our website we are working on. We have a blog post. We have our first ever. Tyler has written a blog. So I'm just teasing that, but that is coming this week. We've also got a YouTube channel that we are going to be using. We're going to ask to subscribe. That will be up this weekend. So we got lots going on. We're busy.
Well, yeah, it's content season.
Yes,
playoff season, content season. When you've got both the teams, the main teams from that we're fans of on this podcast still playing in the playoffs. Let's go.
Let's go. All right. So how do we follow you?
I am BeardyConnect03 on Twitter.
And, of course, we have Heidi at Hyde Amazeballs. We have Devin at GordHow09. Tyler is T Noble. Chris Schneitz is SCHNEIDZ. I am KVOLE. Podcast_hockey on Twitter. Subscribe on iTunes, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Facebook.com, The Hockey Podcast, YouTube.com, The Hockey Podcast. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and we will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.